Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today we're going to talk about all the books that I read in the month of September. I did read 8 books, which is good. I did read some books from series, which was part of series September, but not everything that I read was part of a series. I definitely could have focused more on that, but I didn't. But I did read a few. And I wanted to talk about my thoughts with all the books that I finished. It was an interesting reading month. I felt like maybe towards the middle of the month, I was slumping a little bit, and I just wasn't having a whole lot of time for reading. I was very distracted by other things. I had some work stuff going on, so some other things were kind of taking up a little bit of my brain space. But, ending the month with 8, that's good. So I'm not mad about it. Okay, the first one that I finished is one that I read on my Kindle. I got an early copy of this book, and it is my most anticipated book of the entire year. And that is Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. I got to read it early, and I did. I was so happy. And it was one of those things where I got access to it, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm reading now. So everything else got put aside. I started that book, and I loved it. I loved it. This is another mystery thriller book from her, and this one follows a young girl who is living in a small town in Louisiana, and we are following 2 different timelines. So we have the past and the present. And her father is the pastor in this town. And when I say this town rallies around the pastor and kind of treats him like he's some sort of god, I'm not kidding. He has some sort of power over them to where they are just flocking to him, and they believe in everything that he says, and they look to him for wisdom and everything. And his daughter is struggling with that. And as she gets older, you see her kind of question everything, and things start happening. She goes through an experience that brings her close with somebody in the town who other people don't like. They view him as an outsider. He doesn't follow the flock. And you kind of see their relationship and how their closeness grows and what happens in order to make them closer. And then you're seeing them again in the future when they have been separated. And you go through all that kind of stuff. But lots of things are happening in this town. Lots of questions, lots of, what's really going on behind the scenes type thing. It was really, really good. Definitely dark, definitely some warnings on this one. Not as much as The Last Housewife. I will say this is a little bit more similar to In My Dreams to Hold a Knife. It's definitely dark, but it's not quite as dark as The Last Housewife. That one was on a whole nother level. So this one's a little bit easier to recommend for sure. It does deal with a lot of religion. So that is a big part of it. And, there's definitely some things in there, like there's some sexual assault and domestic abuse and child abuse and stuff like that. So that kind of stuff is in there. But oh man, it was really good. Really good. I love her writing. I do. Fantastic. 5 stars. And then I read a small little book that I read in one sitting, and it is The Puppets of Spellhorse. This is by Kate DiCamillo. This is a new book from her. And this one is the start of a little series of kind of fairy tale type of stories, like almost fables. And with each book, she's going to be working with a different artist. So there's a lot of artwork in this one. And I'm going to see who the artist is. Hang on. Julie Morstad is the artist of this book. And like I said, I read this in one sitting. It's very small. It's very easy to get through. But one of my coworkers gave it to me to borrow and said, I would love your opinion on this because I want to be able to recommend this to teachers and, the kids and stuff. I just wanted to get your opinion since you have kids who could be, in the age range of this. So she wanted my opinion. So I took it home and I read it, and it was really good. It was cute. It definitely follows these puppets who are kind of passed around from person to person, and you kind of see their progression as they're kind of traveling around. Now the puppets have personalities and they're talking to each other, but they can't talk to humans. So the humans look at them and they're just puppets. But when you're with the puppets, they're talking to each other, and you kind of see how they are discovering the world and how their personalities match what type of puppet there are. Like there's a wolf, and he very much thinks he's very ferocious. And yeah, so it was really good. I liked it a lot. It was very cute. Again, just like one little sitting thing, but yeah, I liked it. It was 4 stars. And then I read The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. And this one is one that I listened to on audio. And I don't remember who the narrator was. Okay, so this says there are 3 narrators. I only remember 2. I don't remember who the third one coming in, to be honest, but Julia Whalen is the main one. Kimberly M. Weatherall is a second one, and then there is Shiromi Arcerio. I don't know what Shiromi ended up narrating, to be honest. I remember the other 2 for sure because we're following 2 different timelines, so it was 2 different narrators for that. This one was fine. It wasn't my favorite. We're following this villa that is in Italy, and the present timeline, we are following a woman who is an author and her best friend who is also an author, and they have a very interesting friendship. You kind of get those little details along the way, and they decide to go to this villa in Italy to go kind of on a writing retreat because they are both kind of struggling with their writing process and getting something done and all that. So they go there to get away from everything so that they can concentrate. This villa is very famous for being a murder house. In the 70s, there were a group of people who were staying at this villa, and one of them ended up dead. And it was national headlines, all that kind of stuff. So that was really interesting to them as well. To the point where one of the authors actually ends up starting to write a book about this, about what happened and everything. She goes into kind of a true crime mind frame. So you're getting both stories. You're getting what happened in the past when the murder was like going on, and then in the present of these 2 authors. Okay. This book for me was kind of all over the place. There's a lot going on, and I feel like it maybe was trying to do a little bit too much. There was a lot going on in the present. I did enjoy the present timeline better between these 2 friends. I kind of wish it had just focused on those and just given us like the snippets of the past timeline. Like, I don't know, I wish it would have come together in a different way instead of having, full chapters and full scenes from that. Yeah, I don't know. It felt like a lot. There was always so much going on. I was able to follow everything, no problem. Here's one of the big things for me though. The past timeline, the way that it was narrated was really hard for me to picture it as being set in the 70s, because the way that it was narrated, it sounded like Victorian London or like the 30s, 40s type of, and I don't know if it was just her voice, but that's what it felt like to me. So when I was picturing everything happening in my head, I pictured them in old time clothes and like very prim and proper, but this is the 70s. Like they were having, multiple partners in one room at a time, like that type of stuff was happening. And it was hard for me to separate the way that the narration was going and making me feel what timeline we were in versus what timeline it was written in. So I don't know how to fix that. Like, I don't know the solution for that, except to have a different narrator maybe, but it didn't feel like the 70s at all to me. And I had a really hard time picturing anything but like the 30s or 40s. And that's not where it was set. That wasn't the thing. And it threw me off. I struggled with that. And then it was a lot. And then I finished the book kind of with, I have questions. I don't love finishing a book having questions. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes it works. There's another book I read this month that I have a lot of questions, and I won't say which one because I don't want to ruin any endings for anything. But yeah, this one I had questions, and I don't know. So for me, it didn't like fully wrap up, and I don't know. I kind of left it on like, I don't know how I feel about this. So I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, it was interesting. So the next 3 books I'm going to talk about very, very, very briefly, because I have already posted a reading vlog for these. These are the ones that I read for the reading vlog where my customers picked my books, and they were all first books in a series. So these were all for series September. And I read The Housemate by Frida McFadden. I gave this one a 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I could not put it down. I read it so quickly. I was in it. I did not see anything coming. I loved the twists and the turns and the way that the story was going and what ultimately ended up happening. I loved it. I loved it. It was dark. It was messed up. I just sat there going, what are these people going to do? Like, I don't understand what's happening. I loved it. Loved it. Loved it. This was a gift from Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. Oh my gosh. I loved it. Absolutely love this one. I also read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, and I really enjoyed this one too. This was like a 4.5. It wasn't quite a 5-star. I think mainly because it's young adult and they are teenagers making stupid decisions. And I'm like, what are you doing? But I am also a 45-year-old woman and I know better. But I did really enjoy this one. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. Honestly, I thought I was going to go into this one and be like, yeah, that was fun. No, I really, really, really enjoyed it. And it follows a girl who is opening or looking into a cold case from her town where a girl disappeared. And she's bringing all this up for a school project and really gets involved, and it gets in the middle of it and all that stuff. So really enjoyed this one. We'll definitely read the second one. I'm definitely going to read the second one of this one too. I'm going to read The Housemaid's Secret. I'm already planning to read that one. And then I also read The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which my daughter Kaylin has stolen from me and she has started reading. So I was talking about it a little bit with her and she ended up wanting to read it. So she grabbed it and she has it at school right now. So this one is a young girl who is really down on her luck. She's having a hard time. She's practically living out of her car, and she ends up getting summoned to Texas to be part of a reading of a will of a man she's never met before, but she's involved. She doesn't know what's happening. She doesn't know who these people are. She doesn't know who this man who passed away is. Why is she required to be there? She has no idea what's going on, but apparently there's some sort of inheritance happening. And she's like, well, if I'm going to get some money, I'm going to go. And, she goes and there's the reading of the will, and she's there with his entire family, including his 4 grandsons. And basically everything is left to her. And with the caveat that she has to live in the mansion with the family for 1 year. And there are a ton of puzzles and games and things to figure out. And she has to make sure that no one's trying to kill her to get the inheritance. It was a lot of fun. I gave it 4 stars. I'm definitely going to read the rest of that series too. So it was a good time. But if you haven't seen the reading vlog for these books, I will leave it linked down below. If you guys are interested in seeing a little bit more and kind of my thoughts along as I'm reading, I will leave that link. Okay, the next one I picked up is a middle grade, and this is going to be featured in another vlog coming up here soon. So I'm going to keep this a little bit brief because I'll talk a little bit more about it in those. But this is 11 by Tom Rogers. This is a middle grade book that follows a young boy whose 11th birthday is on 9/11/2001. And he is living in New Jersey, right outside New York. And it is that day happening and unfolding. And you see him go to school, and then all of a sudden school is canceled and they have to go home. He's in charge of watching his younger sister because his father is a transit driver in New York and his mother is a nurse. So they are both obviously really caught in the middle of this day, and you follow him and their adventures getting home and finding out what actually has been happening. He ends up finding a stray dog that really helps them throughout the day as well. And I enjoyed it. It wasn't fantastic, but it was good. I ended up giving it 3 stars. And then I did write down in here that there are some warnings for, there's a lot of bullying in here, and then details about this day. So if that's something that you're still sensitive to, you know, that's definitely in here, but the details from that day are there and they're good. But yeah, so it was fine. I'm not going to hang on to it for the long haul, but it was good. And then the last one that I finished in the month of September is another one that is a series, and this is a series finisher for me. I read For You and Only You by Caroline Kepnes. This is the 4th book in the Joe Goldberg series. It is the most recent one, and I don't know if this is a series finisher. There's definitely room for more. So we'll see what ends up happening with this series. It's not something that is highly advertised. It's just like, she'll just come out with another book. And I'm like, oh, awesome. So, but we are back with Joel Goldberg and we are in his head. And this one definitely gave me more of the vibes of the first book, which is You. And I loved You. That's one of my all-time favorite books. So this one felt very much more of a homage to that one versus the other two in the series. So Joe is at Harvard. He is doing a writer's, what's it called? He is doing a fellowship. That's the word I was looking for. I was like, what is the word? He's doing a writer's fellowship at Harvard University. And he is doing this because he has written a book and has been getting some praise for it. So he got invited, and it's like a prestigious thing. So he meets a woman in this group and immediately becomes Joe Goldberg. I listened to this one on audio. It is narrated by Santino Fontana, who is fantastic. Oh my gosh, his narration is so good. This is the first one I've listened to. The other three I read physically, but this one I listened to it, and his narration is perfect. It's so good. And it's just Joe, man. He's Joe. He is obsessive and stops at nothing and will take other people out when he needs to. Doesn't even think twice about it. Yeah. And there is references to previous books and people who he has dealt with in previous books as well in here. So I feel like if you haven't read the other ones, you probably, I don't know if you'd be okay or not, to be honest. Probably not. There's a couple things that like have details about what happened in the other books, so maybe not, but I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't knock my socks off the way that You was, but I did really like it a lot. And I love this series. It's a lot of fun. And then I did have one DNF and one not right now book. So the official hard DNF, like this is, I'm not going to finish this book, is The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. This is the one that I picked for my last I Was So Excited book haul. And I got 36% into it. And I was, number one, having a hard time following the characters based on the storyline. And number 2, I didn't care. So I decided to DNF it. It just wasn't doing it for me. I did listen to it. It is narrated by Nicole Lewis, and I did get 36% into it. So, but it wasn't for me. I don't know. I didn't like it. So, but a little bit more about that in my next I Was So Excited video, which is going to be coming up soon. Then my soft DNF for right now, and I'm trying to figure out if it's one that I don't know that I can keep going, or if it's too much for me right now. I hope it's the latter. But Hunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. I read Haunting Adeline last month, and I really liked it a lot. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked it, and I was excited to go on to the second book in the duology. Hunting Adeline is, oh man, it's, I can't go into why because it will spoil the first book, like what happens in the first book. So I'm not going to explain why, but the content in this one is so dark. I'm having a hard time. Now I can read a lot of stuff, guys. I can read a lot of messed up stuff. I have read a lot of messed up stuff. This one is almost too much for me. Like I was trying to read on the plane when I was heading out to Phoenix on our besties trip. I was trying to read this on the plane and I just said, I don't think I can do this. So I'm not sure if it's me in my headspace right now, or if I don't think I can read this book. So I'm putting it down for right now. I'm 30-something% into this one as well. I'm going to put it down for right now. I do have it from Kindle Unlimited, so I'll just let it sit there. But we'll see if I can get back to it before the end of the year. I'm not 100% sure. Ooh, it's so much. And I think it was just so much, just consistently, constantly, so much, scene after scene after scene. I'm like, I need a break. I just need a break from this right now. So we'll see. We'll see if I end up getting back to it. I don't know if I will or not, to be honest. But so it's a 4 right now, possibility of going back, but we'll see how my feelings take me on that one. I didn't really like the first book though, so I kind of don't want to give up on it, but at the same time, I just don't know if I can. We'll see. Okay, those are all the books that I read / DNF'd in the month of September. So let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know what you read and really enjoyed in September. I would love to know. And I will see you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day.